Hey guys, Trail Chasers here. Today I want to talk about tips for setting up your bike for winter. Winter's fast approaching, and this is definitely one of the times where you want to take precautions into making sure your bike's going to survive through winter. Winter's always really hard on bikes due to mud, grit, all sorts of buildup. So there's many preventative measures that you can take to ensure that your bike's going to run better for longer and hopefully keep any creaks or odd sounds from coming out of the bike. Those are never fun to deal with, and I personally hate riding with a bike that makes any other noises than it should. So my first tip is going to be always make sure that the rear suspension pivots and your fork seals happen to be lubed up. Use certified lubrication for this, so you want to go with like silicone lubricant. Based on the brands, I use Slickoleum grease on it. It's always worked wonders for me, and it'll ensure that your fork's going to work. It's not going to get full of crap, because trust me, if the seals go dry, you're going to get dirt, mud, the fork's going to start acting up. You'll start wearing away the coating on the stanchions, which is actually really bad for it, and I'm sure you guys know it'll ruin it very, very quickly. So it's always important to keep your fork lubed up, otherwise it's just going to go to the shitter. Now, the other thing that I mentioned was keeping your pivots lubed. You can do this by taking the pivots and unbolting them. You don't necessarily have to take the bearings out of the frame. You can remove the seals using something like a toothpick or a dentist pick, and then you just basically want to flush it with WD-40. WD-40 is actually not a lubricant, it's a solvent. It's used to remove grease from bearings and bushings, etc., etc. And then you want to repack it with something. I use Park Lube PPL1, that is a waterproof grease. It works great, it lasts long, and it'll keep all the dirt and crap out of there. Pack them really full, because trust me, you don't want any dirt or grit getting into these, because if that gets into the races, that's going to wreak havoc on your bearings. The next thing I want to touch on is cables. Cables are really important to replace at the beginning of a winter season. Usually, if you've had your cables for over 6 months, it's probably getting close to a time for replacing them. Although they're PTFE coated, they can still rust and gather contaminants, and overall it's just going to be really detrimental to your bike's shifting performance. So replacing that's going to be very helpful. Another thing I'd really recommend is always constantly monitoring that chain. Especially drivetrains take a really big beating during the winter hours because there's a lot of grit and dirt that works its way. And the drivetrain's an open system, unless you're running a pinion gearbox. If so, I'm probably going to go steal it from your house. But most of us are not that lucky or rich to have a pinion bike, so we have the traditional outside gearbox that's exposed to the elements. Now, you'll definitely want to make sure that you're cleaning it after every run, just like you normally would, because all that grit and mud can really hurt the shifting, and not only that, you're going to wear out your cassette. If you routinely replace your chain and check for chain growth, you may not have to replace your cassette, and that'll save you a bunch of money, because believe me, cassettes are not a cheap item. Now, one of the last things I want to go over for this is changing out your brake pads. If you use an organic pad, it's probably a really good time to change over to a sintered metallic. The reason being, while organics are great in the summer because they give good bite and they aren't very noise prone, when they get wet, they sound awful. Trust me, you're going to lose a lot of bite, a lot of grit. They will squeak like hell, and it's not going to be fun. So I would highly recommend for any wet condition riding picking up at least a semi-metallic brake pad, but I would really recommend the sintered because that's going to give you the best performance overall, and the brake pads will last a lot longer, because especially in the winter time, you're going to see a lot of brake pad wear because there is water being introduced to that, and it's like a wet sandpaper almost on the disc brake pads when you get mud and water on there, so they can really start to wear down quick. Other than that, it's basic maintenance. You want to just be cleaning your bike after every ride, making sure mud's not getting packed up into any weird places. Other than that, it's basic maintenance. As long as you keep maintaining your bike, be cleaning it, making sure there's no dirt getting packed into random places, the bike should maintain fine performance throughout the winter months, and it shouldn't require much maintenance other than that. Anyways, this has been Trail Chasers. I really appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe. It gives me motivation to make more videos for you guys that watch my videos. Anyways, I'll catch you guys out on the trails. Bye-bye.